is the Raw Women's Champion. Bianca Belair is in the house with myself and Kenny. Bianca, how are you?
I am good, feeling great.
I was there at SummerSlam, and when you had that match with Becky, which was phenomenal.
Thank you.
So good.
Because the WrestleMania match was so good that people were like, how are they gonna? And then you topped it again. But then not only that, we've got Bayley, we've got Dakota Kai and Io Sky coming out. I mean, that must have been a cool moment that you're like, these people don't know what's about to happen. It's going to be good.
Well, it was really cool. And I mean, SummerSlam, for one, was in my hometown. So it was like already felt special. It was so much history behind SummerSlam with the whole year-long build with Becky Lynch and I. And us trying to top our WrestleMania match was one thing. And then afterwards, I'm like, okay, we did it. And then when Bayley came out, and I was like, oh, I heard the crowd. I'm like, okay, this is going to get good. And then, and then Io comes out, and then Dakota comes out. And it was just, as much as everyone else was like surprised and loved it, I felt the same way. It's like pictures of me with my facial expressions. Like, it's really, truly how I felt in the moment. Very excited for them to come back. Bayley and I have unfinished business. I didn't realize it was going to go the way that it's going right now with the three of them now teaming up on me, and I had to find two amazing partners, Asuka and Alexa, and we'll see what happens.
You were saying there again about some of the stories you've had already, like really crazy career, like the history of Sasha, and then the stories you had with Bayley kind of as you came onto the main roster. But this Becky story, I guess, is the one that is going to live really long in a lot of people's memories. I was there at Mania with Kenny, blew the roof off, right, that match. I guess because making your way back to that match after the original SummerSlam match, right? And I know how things change so quick in WWE, and you never quite know where you're going to. But just how satisfying was it to get to the end of the road?
Ooh, so satisfying. It was a long road, a very long, unpredictable road. Even from SummerSlam, the 26-second SummerSlam, very unpredictable, out of nowhere. So like you said, you never know where things are going to go. So for us to be able to get back to it at WrestleMania, then get back to it again at SummerSlam, I feel like that's something that isn't really done a whole lot especially for like the women and our feuds. And so to be able to do that with Becky Lynch and to have this memorable feud with her, and be able to bring it back full circle to where now it started with the handshake, it ended with the handshake. The whole redemption story for me to be able to walk out with the title again after losing it in such a controversial way. It was very, very, very satisfying. Just so many emotions that I had throughout the whole entire year, but to be able to walk out and have the title on my shoulder means everything to me.
You must have really bonded with Becky during this kind of story too, right?
I'm sorry?
You must have really bonded with Becky during the story too.
I did. Becky Lynch, she's an amazing person inside the ring, outside the ring. No other better person to learn from. I mean, I feel like I've had so much growth just by working with her, and she's helped me tremendously, even through the whole story of, at first 26 seconds, everyone's like, oh, your momentum is completely gone. And actually, Becky Lynch has made me a bigger superstar. Becky is someone who, she shows up, she shows out, she steps in, she stands up no matter, what's on the line, and she makes sure that, women are at the forefront of everything and make sure this titles are always represented no matter what. And I've learned so much from her inside and outside the ring, and I've definitely bonded with her.
Well, let's go back a little bit to that 26-second SummerSlam match. There's a lot of wrestlers who maybe would feel demotivated or who wouldn't be able to pick themselves up as quickly. But how did you, that day, you find out, right, it's 26 seconds, Becky's winning the title. How do you process all of that and move forward?
Because it was so late, wasn't it?
Yeah,
very late in the game and all that stuff.
It was very last minute, very just unpredictable, but that's how WWE is. You never know what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, it was very hard to process, like even after the match was over and having to figure out, okay, where do I go from here? You go and you main event WrestleMania and you're the champion, and then you win an ESPY and you're like, okay, I did everything right, but it didn't work out. So what do I do now? And so to be able to be in the business with my husband, who can understand the ins and outs of the ups and the downs, and I feel like I was really able to rely on him, and we always are able to vent to each other and validate each other's feelings. But then we're like, okay, we have to move forward. And how do we move forward? What is the perspective here? And so my husband helped me a lot. John Cena was there at SummerSlam we had an amazing conversation about, perspective and, mentally and your mindset and where do you go from here, and gave me a whole lot of other examples of how like this isn't the end. And so I'm always just so very grateful for John Cena, his words of wisdom and the gems that he gave me that night.
I'm glad you mentioned Cena. Speaking of Hollywood, see, I'm good at this. I am.
Look at that transition.
WNE, right? They signed you. You're looking at big screen stuff, huh?
I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm a person where I like to do everything, and I want to be as big as possible, but the main goal is always to bring as many eyes to WWE. It was a time where I never imagined myself being a WWE superstar, and now I am, and I can't imagine myself being anything other than a WWE superstar. But I want to do everything. Like, I'm always talking about how I want to be the best version of myself. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for all the possibilities in the future. I'm excited for some things that are brewing that I'm really excited for to happen in the future. But right now I'm Raw Women's Champion. I'm still honing my craft. I'm new. I'm just getting started, but it's exciting to know what the future has to hold, the possibilities, and maybe one day, dream come true, I can be in a movie with The Rock or John Cena.
There you go. There it is.
Set those goals.
Yeah.
I wanted to, this might be a strange question, but at SummerSlam when you and Becky came out, the level of gear that you guys had was like, just, put everybody to shame with you. I mean, it was like watching, somebody walk down RuPaul's Drag Race runway or something. It was wild. How important has that been, for you to make that a part of the experience for people when they watch you?
That's everything for me. I make and sew my own gear. It's a huge part of who I am. It's a way of me bringing my creativity, using my talents. It's really cool to be able to like look at my action figure and look at the video games and like that's the gear I made. But it's the pageantry, right? It's the showmanship. It's a part of the show. It's a part of who you are. So I love coming out there and for the crowd to be excited to see like what type of match we're going to have, and if we're going to show up, but also be excited to see like, okay, what is Bianca Belair going to be wearing? Like, I want to mix in fashion with WWE, and that's been a long-term goal of mine, and I want to continue to go with that, and people be excited. That's been my thing since CrossFit. That's really what got me into WWE was I was wearing these big elaborate outfits to go do CrossFit, and it became this thing of what is Bianca Belair gonna wear to this CrossFit show? So I've carried it over into WWE, and I want that to be a part of who I am. Just Bianca Belair has amazing gear, and I make it myself.
It's a slightly left field question, but I really loved it when you picked up Otis. Right? I need to know, did you rehearse? Like, whose idea? Did you pick him up first time live, or what was the deal there?
I was so nervous
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I was so nervous for that whole entire obstacle course. Like, more nervous than I would have been for like a WrestleMania match, because it's live TV. I was jumping hurdles.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be the EST.
What if you trip?
What if I trip? Like, what do I do now? How do I fix this? I can't be the EST anymore. I have to just go away and come back as something new. And then having to pick up Otis, I'm like, what? Okay. Like, I know I'm the EST. It's like people come to me with ideas all the time. Like, you can do it. I'm like, you think I can do that? But it was a thing of like, my adrenaline was just pumping. And I'm like, I have to do it. I'm the strongest. This is the way that I have to show that I'm the strongest. And I'm new on the scene. And that was fun. But Otis is not a light guy.
No, he's not.
One of the things about being in WWE is the fans can sort of decide on the night who they like, who they don't like, but the fans have been behind you the whole time, and that's a very rare thing. Ask John Cena for years, he would get half boos, half cheers. Do you ever think about that? The fact that the fans are so behind you, do you sort of take pride in the fact that they are continuing to be behind you?
Yeah, I think it's something very special, and I think what actually helped me a lot was, ironically, the 26 seconds at SummerSlam, and I really saw the fans rally behind me, and through that, I just wanted to be inspiration for people. Like, listen, you can try to do everything right in life, and bad things will happen, but you don't give up. You just keep going and keep pushing through. And for me, I think my main goal is always to try to make people feel something. I don't want to be like the type of person where people look at my legacy or they're just watching me do amazing feats of strength and winning titles, but I want it to be where they remember how I make them feel. And so maybe, you know, that's what it is. Like, I'm always just focused on trying to make people feel something and connecting with people, but it's hard. I'm like, I hope they continue to keep riding behind me and give me the EST chance. I just go out there and just try to be me, and that's all I can do. Like, that's the greatest gift that I can give people, is just being unapologetically me, and they're either gonna love it or not. And I just want to give that message to everyone else. Like, being you is simply enough. And, you know, people are gonna, that's infectious, and people are gonna love that.
We got a couple before we get into a little bit of quick fire.
I'm not good at quick fires, but okay.
You haven't seen that many stables in the women's division down the years, so it looks like maybe we could get some groups now. If you had your say, or, you know, if you could put together a little stable, is there anyone you'd really love to team up with and tell some stories?
If I could put together a stable with the women's division that we have now, it's rough because we have so many amazing women. But I think I would have the strongest stable with me, Rhea Ripley, and Raquel.
Yeah. Spend the money now.
Yeah, that's it.
Who can take that down, right? Who can take that down?
That's good.
I was going to ask you, we've talked before, you know, you've talked about the match with Sasha at WrestleMania so many times, and, you know, how big that was. You know, it's 2 women of colour in the main event. You know, there was so much stuff going on in the real world. You know, we saw New Day with the BLM stuff on, your Black Lives Matter. Was that more important for you, that, you know, all this sort of bad stuff's going on and you're able to have such a positive moment for the community?
I mean, that's being in WWE. Our main goal is always to put smiles on our fans' faces, and especially during the time with so much going on and the pandemic going on, that was our main goal every single time we stepped out there, was to give people an escape, you know, put a smile on their face, but also, you know, anytime that we can go in there and make history and have moments that are bigger than us and that have a huge significance to. I mean, the first time 2 Black females are main event in WrestleMania, that's something that's just unprecedented, and it's going to go down in the history books, and it's going to inspire people for generations and generations and generations to come. But, you know, just that moment in itself, and me getting so emotional in the beginning of that match, just shows how much that meant to me. That meant to the both of us, and hearing people say, like, man, I haven't cried in a while, but I was crying with you. It just shows like how connected everyone was to that. And I think that had a lot to do with it being unprecedented, us making history, but also having to do with a lot of what was going on in the world at that time.
Quick fire time. You ready?
Oh, let's try.
Right. Well, I say
put
quick
a time
fire.
limit on my mind goes blank. I'm very indecisive.
Are you a rock or a stone cold guy?
See, you start with that one.